Wargamers, I'm Lee and you're watching 360 Wargaming. Hi guys, today we're going to look at how we make these bases for our custom Imperial Guard regiment. Now we'll get started. We're a little way along with these ones, but I'll just give you a rundown of how we get these to where we are. So as you can see, if I just zoom in and get it focused, there's some fine gravel on here, and this is done using bird sand, and for some slightly bigger rocks we use bird grit. But what we do first is we get our blank base and we add our slate, which is available in our web shop, and I'll put a link in the description below. We've also got a nice little skull on here for a little bit extra detail because this is our leader's base. And then what we do once we've got that glued down, if there are any blank spaces that we want to leave, we'll then fill it with some astro granite for some smaller, finer grit. And if we want any blank open spaces like we have on this base here, we've got some cracked grit, some cracked earth there, and that's done using Agrolent earth. Now we used those colours because that's what we had. We don't actually really mind what colour they're going to be because it just gets primed this red oxide colour over the top. So we're going to get started with the next step, which is adding a dry brush of Steel Legion drab. It is a heavy coat over these because we do want to get all of the base and cover as much of that red oxide primer as we can do. And it is the base, the rocks, and it doesn't matter if we get it on the skull as well because they're going to be painted in more detail later. So as you can see, all over this base, all over the sides, and get the underside here to make sure that we don't miss any of the rocks. And like I said, we did get some on the skull, but that's not a problem because we can just come back in and clean that up later. So I'm just going to crack on and get the rest of these done before we move on to the next. So now they've had a chance to dry, we're going to do another dry brushing, and this time it's going to be with Talon sand, just the same as we did before. We're going to get it all over everything, all over the bases, and just give it a nice coat, a little bit lighter than we did with the last one, because we don't want to cover as much of that. So I'm just going to go and all over everything again, just to lighten it up a bit, and we're going to darken it down again in a few minutes. Once we've got all the coats on, we're going to add a wash to bring it back down before we bring the highlights back up again. So we'll just get that on, and then we'll move on to the next one shortly after. So as you can see, we've got the two coats on there now, and if we can get it to focus again, you'll just be able to see the two different colours on there, as well as the red oxide base underneath. So now we're going to do our third dry brush, and again this is Citadel colour and it's Rathkarth Flesh. So in the same way that we did with the others, and again this is just to lighten everything up a little bit. Just need to give the paint a little shake, get it all mixed up. Okay, to stay open. So there we go, like I said as before, just a nice light dry brushing over the top. Again, not as much as we did previously. We just want to catch the edges of that rock, maybe the underside a little bit, And again, it doesn't matter if we catch the skull, because we are eventually going to come and paint that with Wraithbone once all the rest of the base is done. But as you can see, again, that's the 3 colours on there. You can still see all 3 colours as well as the red oxide underneath. I'm just going to go ahead and get the rest of these done. Give them a few minutes to dry, and then I'm going to come back in with Agrax Earthshade and give them a wash over the top. Right, so that's the last of the 5 done. Like I said, we'll just give them a few minutes to dry, and then we'll do a wash of Agrax Earthshade over the top again. So I managed to turn off my microphone for this, but it's just a case of adding the Agrax Earthshade wash to all of the 5 bases. Now, I know you've all done this before. I'm sure you've added washes to models or bases or similar items. And it's just a case of coming in with it nice and thick. It doesn't matter if it goes too deep, because we want to add a dark, dirty look to it, which we're going to lighten up later with more washing, more dry brushing, and some weathering powder at the end. So we're just coming up to the last 2 bases here, and as you'll see in a moment, this is the look that we're trying to achieve, just to darken down those light colours that we've put on. And if you just have a look here, once the camera focuses in, you'll be able to see the look that we're trying to get, a nice dirty desert look. Right guys, so we're back now, and that wash has had time to dry, so we're going to go back and do some more dry brushing. Well, we're not going to do the Steel Legion drab this time, we're going to leave that one out, and we're going to start with Thezan sand again. So we'll just give it a quick shake, pop it open, and as before, move that out of the way, and we'll just start again. Just bring it up to the camera so you can have a look. That's where we are now, and off we go again. Dry brushing over the top just to bring some of that colour back out on it, so that it's not as dark as it is or was now that we've added the wash on. So we just want that wash to darken the background of it and not the actual top end colour itself. So there we go again, over the top, and we'll just get it on the rest of the bases. And just before we do this one, you can just have a look at the difference between the two. One is a little bit darker now that we've added that colour back on. So just get this last one done, and then we'll move on to the next colour. There we go, we'll just give the brush a quick clean, and we'll switch out to the next one. Because this is dry brushing, it can be done quite quickly because there's not a lot of paint on the brush, so therefore not a lot going onto the model, onto the base, sorry, not the model. Now we've got a clean brush, I'm going to go back to the Wrathcar flesh, get a shake, and off we go again. Again, just a nice light dry brush over the top all around, and if you just have a look, you can see the difference again now between those two from the original that we had. It's just bringing that colour back into it a little, so that we've not got as dark a base as we might have. It's just to give it that light deserty feel. Now, just to give it that last step before we're ready to start thinking about models and finishing touches. We're just going to do a nice, really light dry brushing with Wraithbone. So I'll just give the brush a quick clean again. Just get that darker colour off. So there we go. And just the same as we have done with every other coat of dry brush, again it's just a nice light coat over the top, just to pick up the tallest tips and the edges of the rocks. So as you can see just there, get the camera to focus, just picking up the nice tips of that. And then again with the rest of them, just to try and get this on quickly. Doesn't matter if we go a little bit too heavy in places, because we are going to add some weathering powder on once we've done this, just to make it look a little bit worn and dusty, like the desert winds have been blowing through or something similar. So that's it for the dry brushing. I'm going to leave the Wraithbone out because I'm going to come back in with a proper brush in a minute, and I'm just going to give it a little coat on that skull that we've got under the rock. So I've just got a little bit of Wraithbone on my wet palette, and I'm just going to come in, I'm just going to use one of these. This is a Rosemary & Co. Series 323 brush, and we did give a similar set of these away recently, and I will do a full review video on these in the near future. But these are absolutely fantastic brushes. I think I've had them for about a year now, and they have absolutely changed the way that I paint, made a massive difference to it. But I will, like I said, do a full review video on those in the coming weeks. But we're just going to come in, and you can see the little skull just there, tiniest little skull. I'm just going to get some paint on my brush. I'm just going to see if I can get it to focus. And stay in focus while we just paint that up nicely. Now we're going to do this and then come in and wash it, and then pick up the highlighted areas where the sun might be hitting it. And we all know that skulls aren't white, so we're not going to paint it white, and certainly not ones that have been in the desert for God knows how long, like this one looks. Certainly not been there recently. Right, so we'll just give that a few minutes to dry, and then we'll wash it and then pick out the highlighted areas like I said. While we wait for that to dry, why don't you guys just take a minute and give the channel a like and subscribe. That'll help us grow and get more people seeing the content that we're creating, and hopefully give us the opportunity to bring you more product reviews and more painting tutorials and other things on top. Right guys, so I did come in off camera and I washed and highlighted the skull because I've seen enough videos of people doing that. You didn't need to see me doing it again. So now the base is ready for the miniature, so I'm just going to bring in our company commander. He will be run in games as the Countess Creed, hence the two last pistols. And what I like to do with my bases is I do like to pin them, just for a little bit of added security, just in case they do get dropped. So I've already got the two holes drilled, so I'm just going to line the holes up, push them in ever so slightly, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in with a blob of glue. So I've got my trusty Loctite here. I'm just going to put a bit on the pins, and that will spread out under the feet. This is pushed down. Just going to push him in. And you can see there is some sticking through the bottom. What we're going to do is, once that glue's had a little bit of time to dry, we're going to come underneath with a pair of clippers and clip that off, and it's not focusing again. So there we go. So there we have our company commander on his base. there's still a few more details to do, and the obligatory black lip on the base. But firstly, what I'm going to do is flip the base over, come in with my clippers, pinch that metal off, and then again with the other one. And then again, I'm just going to put a dab of glue over the top of those, just to hold it securely. And drop the glue on the desk. And then I'm just going to put it to one side and lay him on his back, giving time to dry. I do only have 2 models ready to go on these bases at the moment, but you've seen people put models on base and it's only going to be the same process for the next one. So I'm just going to leave that here, let him dry, and I'm going to come back in and finish him up shortly once the glue's dried, and you'll be able to see the final finished product. Right, so the glue's just about dry on there. We've got him on a painting handle ready for the final stages. Let's just see if we can get him to focus again. Yep, so as you can see there he is on his base. I'm just going to add a little grass tuft. These are self-adhesive, but I do prefer to add a little super glue just to be sure that they're going to stick. And I'm just going to pop this just at the base of that rock, just there, and let's see if we can get to focus while I do it. These are a little bit bigger than I would like, so I have had to cut one down, and we're just going to stick it there and keep it nice and simple because he already has a bit of decoration on his base. He doesn't need too much. Let's just get that stuck down with that glue. It's not enough under there, so we'll just bob a little bit more and just push it down with his tweezers just until it sticks. And then because we're in the desert, deserts aren't clean, dusty and dirty. We've got this nice yellow weathering powder that will just add some extra detail. Just get that on the base. So, oops, there we go. I knew that was going to happen. Just hold on to him a little bit. I'm just going to put that powder. It's going to go on the rocks, it's going to go on his feet, it's going to go on the grass and a little bit up on his coat, just because as he's walking through it's going to be splattering everywhere, and he's not going to take the time to clean it off. It's not what we do when we're in a fight. So a little bit. A little bit on the skull. Let's get rid of that painting handle, the blue tack's not holding it. And under that rock. I'm going to brush it off because there is quite a lot on there. Spread it around. And there you go. So I'm just going to need to come back in a few minutes, brush off that excess weathering powder and then paint that base rim. So here we are with the final finished model. I painted the rim off camera because you've all seen somebody paint a base rim before. You've probably even done it yourself. But there we go. The company commander encounters Creed for the Thezan Rogues. This guy's name's Erwig Arellano, and he'll be hopefully leading our Thezan army in battle in the very near future in some battle report videos. So like I've said before, just give the channel a like and subscribe, follow us on Facebook just to keep up to date with what we're doing. Thanks again for your time.